All ladies and gents, World War II enemies reunited in D-Day anniversary. A lot of time has passed, but how do British and German veterans view each other today? We introduced two of them to each other for the first time. Putting politics to one side is difficult, but for German veterans coming back, the memories are no less painful. Thousands of them died on D-Day. I mean, yeah, it's been what? This is in 2019, so it's been what, 75 years since D-Day? First of all, they must be what, 94, 95 here. So them being present at the moment, which is one of the most dangerous places to be at the time, them being there at the D-Day where lots of people died, it's a massive battle. Them surviving that and living 90 plus years, that's in its own self is just surreal. And more than that, it's been 75 years. You're 90 plus now. Does the words enemies even matter anymore? I know lots of things have happened to you, but still, you're 90 plus at that age. After 75 years, it's just something that you feel like something to just put behind yourself by now. It's just like closing a chapter doing this, because the word enemies, does it even matter anymore after 75? Because lots of people don't even live 75 years, and it's been 75 years since D-Day. I mean, you're 94, 95. It's just, yeah. So let's watch it.
This is the tale of two soldiers who have never met and who were supposed to kill each other 75 years ago on this beach. One fighting for Führer and fatherland, Paul Goltz, aged 18 on D-Day. The other fighting for king and country, Harry Reid, barely a year older. You might know him by now. Harry Reid, 95 years old. Age didn't prevent him from jumping out of a plane yesterday, as he did 75 years ago in the first hours of the invasion. He spent most of his life working for the Salvation Army. Forgiveness was virtually written.
Damn, people, really old people do this, jump out of a plane and just parachuting like this. Man, if you're 90 plus, your heart is extremely weak. That's basically Russian roulette. It doesn't matter how healthy you must be. 90 plus, your heart is just weak. It could just stop any moment doing that. That is extremely risky. But then again, you're 94 or 95 years old by then. It's just like, do you even care? If you die, you die. You want to do this, then you want to do this. So that kind of makes sense too.
Into his contract. And yet when we spoke to him recently about meeting Paul, the German soldier, he was cautious.
I'm not sure what I'm going to say to him. I'm going to have to think about it. But I do know this. I will accept him. I will accept him. How can I be at odds with somebody? I can't, can I? I can't. It's just not love. And whatever words are needing, they will come. They will come.
And then Paul Goltz, 94. He spent yesterday at the German War Cemetery in Normandy, a somber place of black stone crosses, the resting place of the vanquished. I spoke to him on the beach, close to where he surrendered his gun, his freedom and his war to an American tank crew.
And the soldiers, 4 soldiers also came and looked in these fields, in these pastures, and saw us. Hey boys, come on, let's go, the war's over for you. That's what they shouted.
They said. They shouted, yeah.
The Schneider, he wanted to shoot with his pistol on
Your
this
fellow
tank.
soldier. He wanted to shoot them with his
What?
Yeah, with his pistol.
What did you
And
say
the
to
lieutenant said to him, throw the pistol away. You are crazy.
Yeah.
You can't do with a pistol a tank.
The war was indeed over.
So British and Americans came there with tank and lots of tanks and just asked them to surrender. And then one of the guys like, I'm gonna shoot them with a pistol against the tank.
But for Paul, not for his family. His village in eastern Germany became part of Poland. His father, a farmer, was killed by Russian soldiers, his sister raped. But defeat gave Paul, like much of Germany, a new lease of life. He became a prisoner of war in Scotland and America, learned English and joined the diplomatic service. Was he afraid on D-Day?
Nein, mit 18 Jahren Es war eine neue Situation für mich.
Positiv oder negativ?
Jetzt beginnt es endlich, dass wir das hinter uns bringen. I saw these 1,000 ships, and I thought
You knew it was over.
that I should better make peace with America and England, and only keep the Russians away from Berlin, because my family was near in the east of Pomerania. At first there came the Russian there.
You were much more afraid of the Russians
Yeah.
than of the Americans. And the
That's what I thought.
People always think that Nazis, so they are these evil, completely evil people that fought on the D-Day. But no, lots of soldiers who fought from the Nazi side were, conscripted into it, like 18 years olds and things like that. So they were much of Nazis. They are just like, conscripted into fighting. Most of them were, afraid. Most of them just wanted the war to end. So that's what he's saying here. Like when the D-Day started, when the thousands of ships he saw, he's like, finally, the war's gonna get over. We're gonna sign a peace treaty or something. We're gonna go to peace and everything gonna stop. So most of, there were lots of young soldiers there. I mean, when you're 18, you're not much of side of anything. You don't have views, you don't have much of policy. You do, but not at the major scale. So obviously most of them just wanted the war to stop. So yeah, that is something. People always say the Nazis, this evil. But yeah, most of them were just like any other side. They were just conscripted into it. So people like this just wanted the war to stop.
It was time for Paul and Harry to meet on neutral ground in the Café de la Digue in Kabul.
And I'm so glad to see you and to hold your hand and say, bless you, we are partners. Once we were on a different side, but we are partners together in the rebuilding of the world.
That's why I find very fine.
It is really weird to see that two enemies who were enemies 75 years ago now sitting there. They probably have more to common with each other than most people around there, because they were part of something historic 75 years ago. Doesn't matter if they were on the opposite side, they were part of it. That's kind of a strong thing.
That's right.
Yes, that's right.
And I'm just so glad to see you.
We understand each other.
When you were here and you were fighting for survival, the idea that one day, 75 years later, let alone jumping out of a plane, you would be sitting here with a German former soldier who was on the other side having this conversation.
Not at that time, although my common sense told me that there were people very peacefully minded, and their voices so often were silenced.
What would your advice be to young people? Dein Rat für junge Leute?
Für junge Leute, look at the cemeteries where the people died for us. Because we have the peace for 75 years old. Peace, keep the peace, get with you.
And you.
Now we are friends.
We are more than that. We are more than that. We are brothers.
Harry Reid and Paul Golds, brothers and friends. Well, I'm joined now by two more men who landed here in Normandy, Bill Gladden and Dickie Forrester. Thanks very much to both of you for coming on the programme. You saw the film that we just aired of the German veteran and the British veteran meeting. What did you think when you saw that, Bill?
Well, I was rather impressed. It's the first time I've seen a ex-German soldier and a British soldier meeting. I've never seen that before.
You've never met any German soldiers yourself?
No, none whatsoever.
What about you, Dickie?
Well, I always used to see one called Willie that used to go to Pegasus Bridge every year, and they sort of adopted him until he died. He's been dead some time now, but the parents sort of talked to him like a mascot.
Right.
But I'll never let him inside.
She's the woman who owns the cafe, right?
No, Germans are not allowed inside the cafe.
We had her on the programme yesterday, yes.
If Germans go in, they have to go in the back.
She's quite a formidable grande dame, is that
She's
right?
a wonderful lady. I gave her flowers yesterday, and she's a nice lady.
So, Bill, when you came over, you came by glider, and you were the first glider to ever take a tank. Explain that to us. I mean, the idea of a glider coming into Normandy is just astonishing.
But it's just that I was in the Armoured Corps
Yeah.
where we had the
He took glider to the D-Day. What? He glide there? Am I mistaken? Glide, isn't that the thing that flies?
Valentine's, and then I went with Hobart up on the east coast of Orphaness. I was one of his dispatch riders, and then they asked the volunteers for the Airborne Armoured Corps, so I went with them. And we were at Lark Hill where we did our training, and then we were taken to Turret Ruston in Dorset, and a fortnight before D-Day, we put barbed wire out to stop people getting in, stop us going out, because we weren't allowed out.
Because it was a big secret, wasn't it,
Yes,
using these gliders?
yes. And they had briefed us as well, you see.
And they used the gliders so that the Germans couldn't hear them in the middle of the night as they came across.
Yeah, we came in D-Day afternoon,
Right.
because 22nd Independent Parachute Battalion, they went in first to blow the poles out the field. There was all poles in the field. But little did they know, our glider was that big, we would have missed the poles.
Right.
But the horses, it would have taken the wings off.
And there was a tank on the glider.
Yeah, we had a tank and 6 motorbikes, 350 matches. I was on the bikes, actually.
And you were injured soon after you landed, right? Or?
Yeah, I landed on the 6th. I was wounded on the 18th.
Right.
And
what happened?
well, we'd been out on because we did all the recce work for 6th Airborne Division, and we'd been out this particular day. I come back to the orchard at Ronville, and I was just about to grew up tipping out some water, and then there was a bang, and I was on my back.
Right.
And I didn't know then, but I was told afterwards that a tiger had come into our orchard and blasted us. So I don't know whether it's his 88 or his machine gun that got me. But it took all the front of my ankle away. I just the Achilles on the floor.
Dickie, what do you remember most about those first few days of the invasion?
Well, first of all, I was frightened. And secondly, I was seasick. I was so
That's not a
sick.
good combination,
Well,
is it?
I thought I was dead. Oh, it's a terrible feeling, seasickness. So I never recovered for about 2 days. I felt very guilty about it.
And just describe that moment when you came off the boat and you had to rush onto the beach.
Oh, I didn't have to do that because I was laying there in a shocking state.
Really?
And the sergeant pulled me out and left me there, and a medical orderly came on and done it. And he said to this captain, he said, this man's not too good, he might be dying. He said, you're damn fool, he's got seasickness.
And, you know, this has been such a poignant occasion for so many people. I mean, for you, obviously, who were here, but also for those who weren't here and try to imagine. What did today mean to you, perhaps compared to some of the other anniversaries you've been attending?
It's the same as every one I've ever done.
Really?
I'll tell you what, my old chairman, Arthur Middleton, God bless him, was Black Watch. And he said, when you go away with it, we used to go away, they'll come here every year for long. I've been coming here over 30 years. He said, you must wear your medals.
You've got a lot of them.
Well, that's window dressing. He said, you must wear your medals because the people who lie underneath you that you remember never had a chance to wear them, and they were entitled to. And also you can explain to the people, they're not all French, they come from Holland, they come from America. Explain why you're there. They see, oh, this man was here, or he was something to do with it. So they fit in together. And that's my opinion, and every time I come back, it's a joy.
What do you think people should remember most from this occasion? What do you want young people especially to take away from
Don't go to war, because it doesn't get you anywhere. It's just an absolute waste of time.
And victory is not.
Don't go to war, it's an absolute waste of time. Doesn't that explains everything? The guy who fought in the war, in one of the most terrible war of all time, sitting here this age, and he's going like this, when don't fire war, it's terrible waste of time. It's just heavy, man.
Nice, but it's very, very dear. There are lots of youngsters laying out there in the cemetery. We are in the 90s and 20s, killed and maimed. We don't want that to happen again.
You lost friends, both of you, didn't you?
Yeah.
Well, my dearest friends I've left.
Yeah, man, this is stupid. Yeah, any of you who are adults watching this, you remember, being 18 and 19. I mean, You were basically kids, man. And imagine at D-Day, most people fight were lots of 18 years olds, 19 years olds. They're kids, man. Just because they cross this magic number of 18 doesn't make them much of adult. It's 15 or 18. 3 years doesn't make that much of a difference. They're kids. They're going there and dying. That's just effed up, man. Their whole life, they, from the children to the 18 years old, they, slowly, grow up, and for what? So they can just die on some kind of beach because some stupid people want to go to war, because a narcissist a-hole in Germany just decided that he's going to take over the world. This is so effed up, man.
They were lost, they died since the war, which I miss very much.
Yeah.
I've got two friends that lay in Ronville Cemetery. I've visited yesterday, and I normally try to find them. And I helped carry them over. They were both killed. 3 days later, they were carrying me over. So
Right, okay.
that was it.
Both of you, thank you very much indeed, Bill Glad and Dickie Forrester. Thank you so much for coming in. It's been really wonderful talking to you.
The world wars were such a horrible things that happened, man. It's just ridiculous. The German guy too, I mean, the way he said it, that I'm glad that I saw lots of ships on the D-Day, like this madness can finally stop. And that was the case for most people, because you need to realize, how did Hitler get his money? How did Hitler become powerful? Well, it's all started with Hitler duping their own people, Germans. He basically started the company Volkswagen and telling everybody, like, pitch in some money and we are gonna give you a car for the people. And what they did was took all that money, didn't build any car, but built lots of military vehicles, tanks and airplanes and jet planes. And they didn't tell the German people. German people just gave their money over and over again thinking they're going to get a car, but they never did get a car. They just got a war. So you need to understand that all people fought in the war. First of all, lots of them were conscripted into fighting it, didn't want to fight it. So extremists, Nazi extremists were on everybody. Most of them were German people getting duped just like everybody else. So basically one a-hole just duped everybody and lots of people die from all countries. That's just ridiculous. But seriously, this is surreal to see a German and a British guy meeting after all this time, 95 years old, and they probably have more common with each other than most people. They were there on the restaurant or whatever, wherever they were meeting it, because they had the 75-year-old bond. They were on that historic day. It doesn't matter if they were in opposing side, but they were there.